Queensland MPs also received some disturbing reading material this week, a report outlining the impact of climate change on Queensland. Sea levels are rising faster than expected, and there are predictions for more frequent severe weather events. The outlook for the Great Barrier Reef is grim too. One of the experts in the field is Professor Ove Hoegh-Guldberg. I caught up with him at Parliament, where he also briefed MPs on the latest climate science. Professor, as Queenslanders, are there particular consequences of climate change that we need to worry about more than other Australians?
Well, the Great Barrier Reef, of course, is on the front line. Another degree of warming, and we put the reef into a very, very untenable state. And I suppose as a symbol, a World Heritage listed environment, this is really the sort of symbol of climate change for Queensland. That said, of course, if you look at the cloud forests of the Daintree, increasing sea temperatures off the coast of Queensland also will eliminate that within a short period of time. So I suppose 1 or 2 degrees and you lose most of the terrestrial and marine biodiversity in Queensland. That's a serious issue. And
what are the predictions? Could we reach those 1 or 2 degrees?
If we go on the current pathway, and that is to continue to add CO2 to the atmosphere at the rate of 2 parts per million per year, we'll soon get beyond 600 parts per million. At that point, global temperatures will be 3 to 6 degrees warmer, and we'll see vastly different outcomes for those ecosystems. The Great Barrier Reef will be gone, the biodiversity at the top of the Daintree Range will be gone. And so I guess the soundbite there is that with only a couple more degrees of warming along that, business as usual pathway, and we lose these things forever.
How real a threat is that will be a reality?
Well, if you look at the IPCC, which is the most reliable consensus on this issue, they'll put it as a very likely scenario that we will achieve those conditions over the coming decades and century. Now, very likely in their parlance is over 90%. So it's highly likely and very probable.
Is there something we can do to avoid that?
Well, there are really 2 things we've got to do. The mitigation issue, a rapid reduction in CO2 emissions is a must. That's one part of the problem. The other part of the problem, of course, is in addition to reducing emissions, we've got to also realise that these ecosystems are even more sensitive to other stresses we place on them. So dealing with the problem of water quality in the coastal waters of Queensland is extremely important. We've got to reduce all those other things that impact on reefs to make sure that they have the best resilience or strength to get through the sort of climate change we're going to put on them, irrespective of whether we take stern action.
There was an MP here in State Parliament just the other week disputing that humans have any impact on climate change, and you've been holding regular information sessions with MPs around the country. What do you say to the naysayers?
I would say that if you're taking advice from someone, you probably have to look at their profession and then also at their track record. Climate Science Australia is built up from people that have hundreds of peer-reviewed publications in leading scientific journals, and their expertise is core to the issue that they're talking on. Many of the experts that have been confusing the issue, A, don't have any papers on the issue of climate change, so they're speaking without any test of their ideas in the scientific literature, and B, often they'll be, geologists or, mining engineers or so. And of course, you've got to be careful where you get your advice from. I mean, you don't go down the street when you've got a disease and talk to the mechanic about what the best remedy would be, just as you wouldn't go to the doctor and ask a technical question about a car. So I think that's the root of the problem, that busy leaders in Parliament need to make sure that they're getting the best facts.
And the scientific evidence being humans are contributing?
Well, unfortunately, that's the inconvenient truth. That the rise in global temperature, the rise in CO2 is a human-driven signal, and that it has consequences. That's the conclusion, the consensus of thousands of scientists. We have a huge problem, and we're the cause of it. Now, we need to fix it.
Professor, thank you.
It's been